Family, on a good evening. Today, Friday again. We don't can sit down. I hope say any side on a friend on a self na the world. I hope say on they do well. Listen, we don't can sit down and salon business today. As I've been promising last week, it is either we continue the topic from last week or we go back to the topic from 2 weeks ago and continue with this Pademba Road prison. Unfortunately, one of the interviews them still no date on it, so because of that we decide for continue with the topic where we start last week. And today as I've been telling we need for treat this particular topic on its own merit, because you get boku intricacies them and boku complexities them, and assumptions as well. So we therefore can break down the assumptions, see what is legal, what is illegal, what is passive as right, what is not passive as right, what is moral, because some form of morality also coincide this talk, okay? So values, ethics, codes of conduct, codes of, professionalism and whatnot. So today we will talk about, the new appointed Minister of Finance, Dennis Sandi. And the question is Dennis Sandi the right man for the job as Minister of Finance? And inside there, we get for even look at why we are asking these types of questions. Today with me again, I get Mr. Ibrahim Kamara with me, and the get for Sidon Ayaso, been not introducing himself. But for that one that we not been there last week or we been play catch up, I will make he introduce himself again to family.
Thank you, Sister Matilda, for having me. My name is Ibrahim Koroma. I'm a lawyer by training. I work as a law and policy analyst. I'm a head of the law firm of Ministerial and Associates in Freetown. But also, I don't serve as Secretary General of the Fiscal Bar Association. Happy for joining us in discussing this topic today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. So, say recently, earlier this month, the president been do some cabinet reshuffle where we could say a mini reshuffle because it wasn't a full reshuffling. He do one where people are like, okay, whatever. But then, few days later, he can do another one. Last week, we've been talking inside one where now been, the new regional minister, Western area. What are the implications of that? We look at the law. We also look at, the proposition. Now, right now, we will say proposition for abolish the death penalty. We look at the implication. We look at what in the law say. We try to find solutions them, and we also try to put we own 2 cents together for make the government go take into consideration even while going through this process, if the process is successful. So today, we want to look at the second appointment. The second appointment where most people then raise eyebrow, where most people are not glad about, where most people and they say, well, if this president they talk say one affects corruption, how the way he do this thing, so how we go make we look like to the international world? And then again, how the Salone people them, how we look like, and then again to the opposition opposition member them, some of them wave them don't accuse of corruption. We don't get a big COI, Commission of Inquiry. We don't spend boku money and say they find some people and guilty, some people and they plead in case na court and this that. Now be inside that waka day. nine this mania so in name take common ado. And in name na Mr. Dennis Francis Vandi, I believe. And I've been former Minister of Agriculture. I think at one point even me not be permanent secretary or something like that. But make we can see don't look small. What in this mean? So I go to the technical team and I will ask the technical team make the show we the original press release. The original press release where the government been pulled in 2020, I believe. What in the original press release say? Because now from that press release day, now we were able to understand and begin to talk small. So the government of Sierra Leone State House, Office of the Press Secretary and Presidential Spokesman on October 2020, October 5th, 2020, then say commissions of inquiry and civil and public servants. And that's what it's in me. It say the general public is hereby informed that His Excellency the President has directed that all current civil/public servants who have been named in the report of the Commission of Inquiry 2020 and the accompanying white paper for acting improperly with respect to the use of public funds are relieved. This is the word they use, relieved. But I want for make una underline that word relieved. To be relieved, are relieved of their duties with immediate effect until the appeal process is concluded. I want make una underscore that word relieved and the meaning of the interpretation to be relieved of your duty. Then they're very important because we therefore come back and that word be very soon with what the president say. Okay, so I want to ask the lawyer where Sidon Ayasu, when they say somebody is being relieved of their duty, what does that mean? What it mean for relieve somebody of their duty?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to give two different interpretation. There is a legal interpretation, but also there is a literal interpretation.
Yes.
Now, the literal interpretation of the word relieve, it means the English word relieved means you can no longer serve in the capacity where you deserve. That is simplest interpretation, Andy. So when you hold a public office and then you are relieved of your duties, it means you can no longer serve. You have been sacked, basically. Don't sack you. Now, the legal interpretation of that one day, now that apart from not being served, you not qualify as of the time when they relieve you. You not qualify for perform those functions where you be they perform again as of the time you relieve. So in other words, every action where you take after that, it amounts to a breach of the directive we relieve you of your office. So in other words, no longer power, no status, no authority whatsoever as of the time when they relieve you. So in this case, for example, if you are a minister and you are relieved of your duties, it means you are fired and you not get no legal authority for act as minister or for serve in the capacity as minister.
Okay, I want to make you repeat that word again. To be relieved of your duty, where they talk and the legal term. In other words, as a minister, when they don't appoint you, they say you are relieved of your duty. In we local parlance, it means they sack you, not so.
Absolutely. So now I make I say the English interpretation, he said then sack you. They don't sack you. Now the clear interpretation, now they say they don't sack you. When Englishman say you have been relieved, it means you not go able to perform the function them where be they perform again as of that time day. But I give you what is the legal connotation of that naming, the interpretation. Now that you not get the right for act in the capacity where you been the act as of the time where they relieve you. You know the legal authority for exercise the power will be the exercise. And so therefore, you can no longer be considered a minister or whatever office you be occupied. Okay, thank you very much. So it's very important for me we understand the languaging. The languaging. They were not, the press release not say they've been asked to step aside. They've been asked to be on temporary leave. It says they've been relieved of their let's ask something. Now let's ask something. The social, perhaps I would say the sociological interpretation of the sentence will follow the word relieved. I think that don't cause a lot of discussion, now either social media or even at the political squares. Are there several people and they talk say, well, the interpretation say, I mean, the notice be say relieved, but pending certain action. Pending. Right. So
what did they try for say right now?
Yes.
What did they try for say? Now then, few words that we follow the word relieve. Where states say with immediate effect until the appeal process is concluded.
Absolutely.
Right?
So that I don't come with a lot of discussion points. It comes to a lot of discussion points, and I think say at some point government also use them as an excuse for make Mr. Vandi not go parliament. But I understand say they eventually did. But the discussion will follow Mr. Vandi in being relieved. The word relieved is surpassed any other word will follow. Because when you are relieved,
so we need to also establish that. We don't establish the regular meaning of the word relieved. We also don't establish the legal interpretation of the word relieved. We also don't establish the working interpretation or implication of the word relieved. But then you also don't make it clear, say, no matter what follows that word relieve, no other word not the way big person.
Yes, absolutely.
In that scenario, in that context.
Absolutely.
Okay. This is important for us to know. This is important for us to establish. And the reason why I make it important for we for know and important for we for establish, because the debates now where they can ensue, there is a lot playing on this. Now, I want to make with technical team go make it play verbatim, waiting the president, aiming gets for say. And then now we can look now into the implications of some of them things.
When you came to power, you promised, and one of your campaign slogans was to really try to root out corruption in Sierra Leonean government. You investigated your predecessor's administration. You made it a focus, especially early on. Fast forward 3 years, looking around you, what do you think Sierra Leoneans make of how you have handled corruption?
Well, corruption was endemic in this country. It was fashionable. It was a way of life. What we have done, or what I have done, is to make it very risky. It is to make it difficult and to make it not fashionable anymore. With the use of the Anti-Corruption Commission, we have been able to recover quite a lot of money from those who acquired monies illegally. When we came in, they rated us. Our control of corruption index was about 47%. Today, we are in the 80s. In the past 3 years, we have made progress every year.
President Bio, though, your chief minister has been accused of corruption, and your wife, the First Lady, has also been accused of corruption, misusing public funds. How are they being held accountable?
It is easy to accuse or make allegations that any member of my family or the government is corrupt. We have a system. You have to prove that, you have to produce evidence. So without that, I can say you are corrupt, even when I cannot see. I hardly have any dealings to do with you. Whenever there is any claim of corruption, the Anti-Corruption Commission is free to go and investigate, and where there is evidence of wrongdoing, as far as monies are concerned for the state, we will take action.
So let me get this straight. If it is proven, President Bio, if it is proven, that the Chief Minister and the First Lady, your wife, have actually misused public funds, how will they be held accountable?
Well, there's a prescription for whatever happens. If that is the case, and it's proven in a court of law or by the commission, they either ask to pay for it, or there are different forms of punishment for that, and they will have to.
On top of that, you recently hired a brand new finance minister who was accused of long-standing corruption in the previous administration. What message does that send to Sierra Leoneans?
Again, you've used the word accused, and he has had to go through a very long legal process to prove that he is not guilty. So, like I said earlier, it is easier. Anybody can make such claims, outlandish claims, or that the other person is corrupt. But we are a law-abiding country, and we go through the entire length to make sure that when claims or allegations are made, we prove them in a court of law, and then we take the necessary actions.
Okay, so when allegations are made, it is necessary that we prove them in the court of law and we take the necessary action. Some people are from the COI are appealing their cases. Others, according to the state, are negotiating with the states for payments and whatnot. But in this particular case, here was someone who was part of the old establishment, who happened to be part of the new establishment, whose name was called as part of those who were found to be, corrupt or mismanagement or whatever. In the release, the press release from the state, it says the person or the people's concern, they've been relieved of their duty. They did not say that they've been suspended. Okay, the word suspended, I want to make, we don't look at the word relief, but even as I asked this question, to Mr. Ibrahim, I want to make you also tell people the difference between a suspension. We don't look at the word relief, but also the difference, because say suspension, or say they've been asked to step aside for a little while. It said they've been relieved. So now here is a president who is saying that it is easy to accuse, but when you accuse, you have to prove, you have to produce evidence. Without such evidence, anyone can get up and accuse. I don't know what he's saying in terms of that, because I believe everyone that went through the COI, they were accused with evidence. They were not accused without evidence. And whether the evidence was fictitious or whether the evidence was true, there was evidence. Now, yes, it is the onus is upon the accused to clear their name and say, no, here it is, here is what, and here is what. But when you have a president who at the same time is saying that we have made corruption not fashionable, and at the same time, less than 24 hours of the alleged, verdict of a said person, the person is being given one of, if not the most important position in the cabinet. What do you make of that?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Matilda. Before I go to my opinion about what I mean, I make of the appointment, I want to just react to three things the way President talked about that interview. One, the President said the ratings of the country in terms of the corruption index and how they don't fight corruption and don't increase from 47 to 81. That is correct. That's a correct proposition where the Afrobarometer rates Salone say they don't increase from that point to that point. But don't also forget that the same Afrobarometer, it pulled out a report just last year that the most corrupt institution in the country is the presidency. The office of the president, parliament, and the Salone police. That's what they rank them. So that is a slap on the face of the administration and the president himself. So we should not forget that. Now, but also the ratings of the country, now we done the progress. Remember, on the last program, I tell you, say, Salone don't come out from just 2002. Zero anti-corruption prosecution. So now. So it's a progression. And what you will not take lightly that the contribution of the current administration in the fight against corruption. Just a few minutes ago, I tweeted that the president in administration did not win the fight against corruption, but they have improved on the platform so that the next administration will be able to succeed for fight corruption. Because when this administration come aggressively, the first 6 months, we see what they do. But talking about corruption, and the second point, the president say we get institutions the way they fight corruption, and they are free to do it. But we don't see allegations of corruption where we not see actions from the Anti-Corruption Commission and the government. For example, there is a lot of evidence of corruption from the 2019 and 2018 Auditor General's report. But apart from the Auditor General's report, there is the independent organization like Africanist Press, where they implicate the family members and senior members of the administration, including the president himself, about massive corruption, unexplained corruption at the highest level, disproportionate to anything we will ever see. And there has not been any investigation, because when you say there is a free will and independence of the Anti-Corruption Commission for fight corruption, when they make an allegation of corruption, what the Anti-Corruption Commission does and what the government supports is to investigate whether it's true or not. But if there is no investigation, that means that is a deliberate attempt to cover it up. That is my opinion, and that is a tweet I sent earlier this morning. Now, the third thing I want to talk about, the fact that when allegations, I don't mention quick short thing about her, of this nature, especially when they mention the president himself and his wife. What did the president for do? Now for don't make a national address empowering the anti-corruption for look into the allegations and for the dignity of your office. And that is also in my tweet recently, just a few hours ago. I said the president for the dignity of the office of the president. This is a colossal allegation, not a small money. The president make mention in that interview, say they don't collect a lot of money. That is about $2.6 million for 3 years. And that is money they collected from past administration officials and the present administration officials combined. But report from the Africanist Press don't show say it's over $6.8 million just the president and his wife that they have illegally taken from the Bank of Sierra Leone. That is surpassed 3 times more than the entire 10 years of the last administration allegation, I suppose, plus the money where they don't collect. So that's a very serious issue. So now, what do I think about what is happening? The appointment of the Minister of Finance. Me now, one of the lawyers every day at the Commission of Inquiry. I went there on the first day and I was there representing about 7 people. We went through the Commission of Inquiry. We supported it. The opposition parties supported it. We did not, however, support the procedure. But we went there. Some of us will make public statements in the Commission of Inquiry, and the records will speak. We say we will support this fight against corruption, not for just today, not for tomorrow.
Right.
Because we believe, say, corruption, that one of the main reasons why we country poor as it poor. Mr. Vandi was not only accused, they lead evidence against him. Now the Commission of Inquiry. And then the commission make findings against him. Say he was one of those civil servants where take parts, machinates, and publicly corrupt the system and get gain to himself, bring gain to himself as an individual. Remember, when the commission done, they finish their work, what did they do? Then they submit recommendations to the president. Now, those recommendations are not final. The president looks at the recommendations. And then the one that we look and assess as being realistic and show the evidence where the president believes, say, yes, this is corruption. Those are the findings that the president puts in a white paper and publish them. Once he publishes them, that becomes equivalent to a judgment. So in the case of Mr. Vandi,
I want hold you. I don't want to cut your trend of thought, but I want to hold you small and ask you a question right there, because you mentioned something about, even though we did not agree with the rules, we worked with the process, right? Now you are speaking of the opposition. Now, the question where me want to ask you right there for a bit of clarification is that there was an issue with the constitutional instrument and the rules of court committee. The fact that say Unanobi agree with them, was it a consensus within the opposition to say, even though we don't agree, for good omen, let's just go with it? Or should it have been good for the process of democracy for you guys to continue to put your foot down and say, until the constitutional instrument has straightened out and the rules of court committee are straightened out, there shouldn't be, we're not for carry on with this if we really they talk about straightening our system and democratic processes?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to give this explanation, clear explanation. See, there was nobody in Sierra Leone, as far as me know, where we opposed the fight against corruption, where opposed the commissions of inquiry. What happened now that the constitution say, if you want to set up a commission of inquiry, then you get for establish rules of procedure for that commission of inquiry. Now, what in the opposition members be they talk, and the commission of inquiry not to just, even though they targeted the opposition, the Old People's Congress, because it was deliberately targeting people who have served as minister, the former president, the former vice president, and cabinet ministers and directors only. Imagine, only those are the only people who will be the target. So, what in the opposition be they say, you cannot target the opposition party in this manner. We forget. And then we will go through it, we'll support it. But secondly, we would argue that ministers, deputy ministers, presidents, directors, they are not the vote controllers. They deal with money. Now, permanent secretary, people they want a permanent secretary, now they deal with money. So we would ask you for support you process of transparency. We go ask you, let you include them permanent secretary, let us also investigate them. So these were the two concerns of the opposition.
I want to ask you for clarify something though. Who gives their final pen? Is it the minister that pens his signature, or is it the permanent secretary?
When it comes to ministerial administration, the head of the ministry, not the permanent secretary. The political head of the ministry, not the minister.
Yeah, I get that, but what I'm trying to explain.
Let's explain that structure.
Okay.
The administrative head, not the permanent secretary. The political head, not the ministry. And not the permanent secretary, not in the sign every check when they come on at the ministry. And the reason for that is deliberate. The reason for that is deliberate. A minister can be moved at any time. A minister can be transferred or sacked at any time. But the permanent secretary is a part of the civil service and it grow. You didn't sack a permanent secretary except for things that were really contravene the civil service code. But these are people that are trained in the system, they grow in the system, and they have expertise. So that explains that. Ministers don't sign government money.
But on whose authorities are the permanent secretaries signing this money?
On the authority, probably on the authority of the minister. But the permanent secretary, in terms of finances, gets a bigger role.
Okay, so Nadande na the reason we make una they say, because this needed to be really, we've been really for pinpoint, because every time it goes back to the minister, and me Sef Nayaso always say the buck stops at the end, because not only the permanent secretary they decide, now the minister now they delegate the authority to the permanent secretary for sign something, but
not necessarily. Not necessarily. I have to come in. Not necessarily. Okay. The fact that the minister is not a signatory to a check or the account of the ministry means the person who is the vote controller, he gets absolute control of all the checks. He keeps all the checks. And for example, I'm not making
so can the permanent secretary sign a check without the approval or acknowledgement of the minister?
Now, an approval is different from an acknowledgement. An acknowledgement might not need any concurrent signature. Yes. An approval might need a concurrent signature, and that is the difference. And for purposes of ministerial administration, the only person where they sign for checks now the permanent secretary. For example, if the permanent secretary, let me explain this one. Let me explain this one. So, for example, if the permanent secretary takes the check, who keeps the checkbooks? If that permanent secretary takes the check to his house, checkbook to his house, and signs a check for his son without the knowledge of the minister, would you say the minister approved it? No.
When I did be one camp for say, does the permanent secretary always and by law should always sign a check through the delegation of the minister? Now then they have one for establish. But I think so you don't establish that day.
No. Let's say no. The minister does not have to approve every signature.
Okay. However, and so that is why the opposition was insisting that even though functionally the buck might seem to stop at the minister, but the permanent secretary does play a tremendous role.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So let's just point one thing more. The fact that a minister does not sign does not mean, it not necessarily mean say minister not gonna know at all when permanent secretary sign. However, a permanent secretary can sign a check, minister no know. So let's get that clear.
So who audits the permanent secretary in this case?
Every ministry gets internal auditors.
Okay.
But there is the Auditor General's office where supervise all those internal auditors and all ministries.
Okay.
So that is how they operate.
Okay, so and the reason why I want to establish all of this even before we go into the David Vandi situation, because I believe at one point, if I'm not mistaken, he was also a permanent secretary. Did I get that
now,
right?
I go, when we come to David Vandi proper, I go give you a background as far as I don't research him, my understanding of David Vandi. Don't go through, now possibly don't take long, very long time at the civil service. And then we'll come to David
time
Vandi.
at the civil, exactly. So, according to what we know, there is a person by the name of David Vandi, who is a civil servant, who, where we, for knowledge where we know, I think, said he don't be a permanent secretary at one point. And then from that, then give him the Ministry of Agriculture, Minister of Agriculture during the current regime. But now inside the back, in name can come on a door for some yuki business then, and then inside the letter where the government pull na do, then say they relieve them on their duties then. Now the word they relieve now in they use. They not say they suspend, they say they relieve them. But we can see say few weeks ago, we can see say the very government will say they fight corruption. The very government will say it don't make corruption not fashionable. Did something where in the views of most Sierra Leoneans is controversial. Again, this is why I say just because you can doesn't mean you should. Sometimes you get to look at the greater implication. He nominates this man here so for be the finance minister, for takeover from the former finance minister, Jacob Judicial, because the former finance minister now the chief minister of the state, where you can call maybe the Secretary of State, because the Chief Minister position is the Secretary of State position, translated otherwise. So, Uncle people and they say, okay, if even self you want bring this money also come back na government, if even self all the yuki business then wait and say then fen and pan, now the court don't say you're not guilty of all them one and day. Now this kind role here, so if you bring this money also kind inside, no Sierra Leone, another way they serve now the government already outside of Sierra Leone, we're competent enough for take on the finances of the country. Why you they go give an accused person, even though they say they not find them guilty, but somebody where don't be implicated in the Dabaru business of the state, in not even 24 hours, where the case done, then you don't go nominate him as Minister of Finance. So Boko people ask the question, say, has this thing been in the running? And if so, for how long? Was this an inside arrangement with the court not to find him wanting for anything? And has this process, because it kind of so quick that in less than 24 hours, they not find somebody guilty of something, then quick one, they put on one of the most senior, if not the most senior position inside the government. It don't make sense to Boku people them. And it don't make sense to Boku people them for the mere fact that say, the very message where you try for send, now you don't use now for contravene, your actions don't contravene that message there to a larger extent. Because they're not, they say, he shouldn't gain employment. What they are saying is the position that you are pointing him to and the sensitive and important nature of that position there. I want to make you talk about that, and we go kind side the personhood of Mr. David, how you call him, Dennis Vandi proper, for understand the work where he don't do, and then we actually get a touch on the qualifications of this person.
Well, thank you very much. So I will take him back from me earlier discussion on the commissions of inquiry. Now, I mentioned, say, commission of inquiry, they only make recommendation to the president. And then the president looks at those recommendations, do your assessment of the recommendations, and then prepare what they call a white paper. The things then where the president, that's what the constitution give the president the sole power for determining what he agree with and what he not agree with. And I mentioned, say, Commission of Inquiry found Mr. Dennis Francis Vandi wanting. He said now one of the most corrupt civil servants then during the last administration. And this is not a member of the opposition. He has never been. He's a civil servant. Now, the president himself, and this is very important, the president himself agreed with the finding of the Commission of Inquiry. And he put out Mr. Vandi in name, now a white paper. Don't forget that the white paper is not prepared by the Commission of Inquiry. The white paper is the documents prepared by the president himself, stating the reasons why he agreed with the finding of the commission and holding Mr. Vandi liable for the offenses where they say don't commit, the financial offenses where they say commit, as investigated by the commission. This is President Bio himself agreeing with the commission. Now, after them publish, even after the finding of that Commission of Inquiry, Mr. Vandi was still acting as Minister of Agriculture. So when the white paper was published, it came out, and then people started screaming, say, this minister has been, issues have been raised against him. Why is he serving? Why is he serving? So President then relieve him together with all other people who they serve in the government. So this is very important in understanding why people, and they say, this is not correct. This is not correct. This is the reason. Now, the president reluctantly relieved him. That is my conclusion.
Yeah, because that's another thing. Because
he
the
reluctantly
of inquiry started a long time ago. Why was he only relieved in October of 2020?
That's why I'm coming. Mr. Vandi was reluctantly relieved by the president. He didn't want to relieve him, even though Mr. Vandi gets allegations where they don't investigate. Now the Commission of Inquiry, they don't find him guilty or wanting for offenses of financial impropriety. The president kept him as minister. Now the public, that they raise eyebrows and put pressure, say, this is not correct. You cannot say you're fighting corruption and you are keeping people who are close to you, your friends, or privies, or however you might want to call them, in your government, but then you are chasing opposition members. So this is now one of the biggest criticisms of President Bio in my own view, that President Bio has been selective in his fight against corruption, that his aggression against corruption is only directed at members of the All People's Congress. His aggression is reserved against members who are serving him, who are his friends, or who are members of his party. And this is a legacy where President Bio forgets after in time. A lot of people will remember him. And that is why a lot of people are saying the administration is promoting tribalism, regionalism, and basically a divided country. Now, after they relieve him, after eventually the president succumbed, government succumbed, the president relieved Mr. Vandi. He went through an appeal process. Now that appeal process ended together with other people. Now, the other people wouldn't be all appeal. Their own judgment came. Mr. Vandi's judgment did not come. The president appointed Mr. Jacob Jusuf Safa, who was Minister of Finance. He appointed him as Chief Minister and left the position of Finance Minister reserved. And this now before they pass judgment to Mr. Vandi. And I mean, this context is very important for make you understand.
Yes, yes.
The president, he removed the Minister of Finance, he appointed him to another office, and then left the Minister of Finance vacant. Why? Because Mr. Vandi was still in the Court of Appeal. They're not giving the ruling yet. This context very important. So why was Mr. Vandi not appointed when they put the first cabinet reshuffle, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was not, because the judge did not pass ruling it. But the judge did not pass ruling the other term. One day, the same day, when they passed the ruling, early in the morning, I am sure it happened in the evening, but in the morning, we saw that Mr. Vandi, the ruling say, Mr. Vandi not guilty for all the offenses. When they find out. So how is that possible? So it go for show two things. One, the president, he agreed with the commission of inquiry because the evidence was there. But what happened in court, nobody knows. Because one, we all know what people that don't talk, reports don't come out about the institutional independence of the Sierra Leone judiciary. We all don't see and read documents about the fact that the independence of the judiciary is undermined, and evidence there for sure that the independence of the judiciary is compromised. We all don't raise that issue. So nobody has come out to explain, one, why was Mr. Vandi, why was the Minister of Finance removed but not replaced? Two, why was Mr. Vandi appointed less than 24 hours after the judgment came? Could it be that the president and the government was trying to work on Mr. Vandi in judgment so he could get a no guilty plea?
Right, because that we need for real to ask that question there. And I think saying that this make a lot of people lost faith in the system and are not happy about this appointment, because like I say, it wasn't a matter of if the I'm not guilty, he shouldn't work or serve. But it was so, it's almost like it was planned, because that's how it looked like, you know, all of a sudden you remove somebody from a key position, you left the position vacant, even though there were very capable people to have filled the shoes. Okay, we understand saying that the president, he gets in right for taking term, for decide, for choose, and for be strategic. But here is a situation where at the time when you relieve this person of in duty, this person where you don't appoint right now, been then a kotos, it matter not be even settled itself. So how come the day when it matter settled, the next day, because it wasn't even 24 hours, the next day you appoint them. So, like I said, one of the most significant, if not the most significant ministerial offices in the regime.
So this is
that the president was already tipped up about the fact that, oh, we not get offend and guilt you. So if you want to put any sign up already, no more now. Like there's so many questions.
So what comes out?
What come out of this action? The moral. First of all, you question the morality, you question the value, you question the professional ethics and the authenticity.
So what can come out clearly by that appointment? Now, two things. One, it shows that somehow the president knows, or people around the president know what is happening in court. Secondly, he also points to what he adjusted talk just now about the weakness of the judiciary and the question, this whole question of independence of Sierra Leone judiciary. So, and thirdly, it also shows the power of the president is too much in Sierra Leone. Because how did he know before the ruling, how the president know say Mr. Vandi go be found not guilty? Where he says self as president, he agreed with the commission of inquiry say Mr. Vandi was corrupt. That is why he sacked him. And he put it in the white paper. Otherwise, no for don't put an in. He agreed with the commission. So how he know prior to the finding that Mr. Vandi will not be found guilty? Or the Court of Appeal not go uphold the white paper recommendations? No way, except there is some information. So, I mean, one person where I don't always support political authority, including legitimate power and authority by President Bio. I mean, we're not a member of SLPP, you know, but I don't say when the president has a power to exercise some authority, even when we think, say, it might not be correct or not suitable, if the power there within the law, for say yes, they get the power. But at certain other points, as citizens, we should also question the sincerity of certain actions. And this is one of those situations. A man who has gone through a hearing in a quasi-judicial proceeding for several months, and the Commission of Inquiry say this man is corrupt. The president himself, in his own white paper, agreed this man is corrupt. But then, somehow, Court of Appeal say this man, all what Unado allege against him is false, so therefore he's not guilty. The president immediately appoints the man finance minister. That is a questionable decision, even though the president has the right to do it. And I think it's a legitimate call by citizens to say, President Bio, this particular appointment, he undermined your sincerity in the fight against corruption, and so therefore we have to call it out.
So following the outcry of the people, both home and abroad, and, you know, immediately when we question this, you know, the timing just doesn't sit well with people. The timing is it just feels too calculated. The timing just feels too, you know, patrionistic. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't have a good face at all. When people don't question, we notice they release the CV, the resume, or some people can call, you know, curriculum vitae of the person, the resume, so the work accomplishment of this person. Say people and they say they don't want to see resume with long sweat. And they say you go read till you tire. So this man released in CV. What was, for me, I didn't understand the purpose of releasing your CV, because your CV or what you have done wasn't the question. It was the action taken by the president to give you a position less than 24 hours after a court is saying you are not found guilty of an alleged crime, but to give you one of the most strategic and most sensitive position in his ministry. That's what people were questioning. So for you as a lawyer, what have you been feel say the release of this CV? What was the intent? What was the purpose for release this Langa CV?
Well, I think I see the documents where you said probably see, and some of the things are repetitive. So for example, if they put say you go to social college, then they repeat it at the bottom, just so that the CV will be longer. But what they take from I read a few things about him as well, and ask some other people where Sabi Mr. Vandi now possibly basically he graduates with a BSc in agriculture and specialized in agricultural economics, Najala University. But they also go Durham University in the UK and get an MBA. But this man we don't do the civil service for a very, very long time, close to 30 years. And don't get a lot of goodwill from the government of Sierra Leone, successive governments, and don't get a lot of training here and there in Africa, in the UK, in the US, and, you know, in terms of capacity building. We also show me, say, the thing that they talk about the government of Sierra Leone, that the government of Sierra Leone, they improve capacity. Mr. Vandi show me, say, that is not correct. So successive government
is a clear demonstration that the government, they create facilities them for make people then go train and become professional, and you know.
That's what it's like. So Mr. Vandi show me say there is a lot of investment where government they invest on people will really they dedicate their service and expertise to the government.
And let me just make a clarification. When I say the government, I am not speaking specifically about this current regime. I am speaking of government past and present. Let's make this clear, please. I don't want to make just not people and say, hey, Matilda, they say the government. No, I not say. I say government past and present. There has been evidence to show that they've put in place strategies for give opportunities to civil servants them for upgrade themselves, for upgrade their skill, for get for enhance themselves within them professions. You can go ahead, please.
So Nadana is there for talk. So for me as a Sierra Leonean, I'm proud to see how much that is or that should be an encouragement for other people for dedicate their service to government and help. Because a lot of people don't want to work in the civil service or public service because they think say there is not much to earn, except you are corrupt. But personal enhancement and personal growth are one of the things the way they benefit from serving government. Some of you don't serve government in different capacities, not as civil servants or public servants, but as a consultant helping government for policy development. So I look at Mr. Vandi in growth during in career, now government of Sierra Leone. He don't go through several. Mr. Vandi was deputy secretary at some point. He don't act as deputy financial secretary as well. He don't act as permanent secretary. He don't act as secretary to the president, this President Bio. He don't act as Minister of Agriculture. And now he's appointed Minister of Finance. So that in CV, back to your question, it released him in the face of criticism that one, he should not have been appointed Minister of Finance. I think the understanding from his own perspective is that the criticism is directed at his own personality as not being qualified. So in CV, go talk for and say he's qualified. But I'm sorry, that is not the issue with most of the people that I've discussed with and most of the things that I don't read on social media regarding the appointment of Mr. Vandi. I don't think anybody that question the fact that he don't spend a very meaningful part of his life for serve in public service. But in the service of the country, if you do anything, you also have to take responsibility for what you did. And in this case, the people are questioning the decision of the president to appoint a man who has been accused and who he himself has agreed was corrupt. And then whatever happened in an appeal happened. The man had a reserved job waiting for him. And then he was appointed immediately after the Court of Appeal found him not guilty for the accusations. And that is questionable. And I think that everybody get the right for reason. And I'm sure that is the same reason why the BBC put him to the president. Because no reasonable person go think say this happened from the blues. No reasonable person will believe that. And I'm sure President Bio thought about this before he appointed him. If you don't think and say, this man go appoint her, and not say, but who wouldn't go raise eyebrow, but are not be seen. And this is the attitude of our leaders in Africa, not just in Sierra Leone. Yeah. African leaders, they not think say they're responsible to the people. And for in Sierra Leone in particular, we leaders they can always say, bo, I talk when they talk, when they don't bell food, they talk. Left the number, they talk, 1, 2 weeks, they don't forget about that. And this is a problem for us. And until we as citizens take the power and authority we will get, say our president can no longer behave the way they want to behave, they will continue to do it. And I think that the growth of social media don't they help we for understand some of the hidden things why don't they take place now top places now around the world, around Africa and in Sierra Leone in particular. The decision, in my own view, was not a wise decision, even though president get right for appointing anybody who appoint. But if the person with a questionable character, person where himself as president don't accuse, say he corrupt. Don't forget, President Bio, excuse me, he sacked Mr. Vandi 2 terms. Mr. Vandi was President Bio's first secretary to the president. Mr. Vandi was one of those where reports come out, claims say, put together the president in argument for making get unaccountable interest.
Right.
For making get free money for spend. That allegation came, a lot of people pressure point at the presidency, and subsequently we see Mr. Vandi was fired. But then he was reappointed as Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah.
And again, because these are all connected to dishonesty. These are all connection to dishonesty. And also accuse them for dishonesty and financial crimes and the commission. But President Bio is sacked from the Ministry of Agriculture. But now he believes that even though he's sacked, this is not the man who for handle the finances of the country. A country like Sierra Leone, where basically dependent with biggest problem than finances. And that kind of position there, I would argue, it only reserved for person who don't prove himself not only competent academically, but a person who for don't prove himself of unquestionable character, integrity, and very high moral standing for handle the finances of Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone will get a lot of debts. This government meets debt, but they don't escalate the debt level. This government, they cry every day, say money not it. This government, they lost contracts and suffer defeat successively to people where they challenge the authorities where they exercise, now foreign tribunals, and then thing they need.
Exactly. And make a hold you there while you lay them points then they. The person where they handle a country in macroeconomics, because right now we're not talking about the micro, we are talking about the macroeconomics of the nation. The person where they for handle the macroeconomics issues of the nation get a really strong background. You get a good understanding of, international economics policies. It get a good grasp of microeconomics, but it gets to be really solid in macroeconomics systems and whatnot. When you look at this man, I'm not taking away from his accomplishments and his certificates them and in contribution to the nation, but is he the best person to handle the macroeconomic situation of Sierra Leone as we know it to be true?
Now, I just start for layout the kind of person where, as a country, we will say this is the kind of person we we're able to handle without going to the qualifications. Now, if you want to go to the qualifications, you go on for examine broadly waiting a minister or a Ministry of Finance basically get responsibility for do. Generally, ministries of finance, like a Minister of Finance in Salone, the general responsibility now for develop government fiscal and economic policy framework. When mean say anything when they do with the country in money, including responsibility, that the Ministry of Finance get the acumen, the ability, and the authority for set out that agenda day moving forward. Now they also get the right and power for allocate government resources. So when money they can inside, now they get for say, now so money, now in they go to social minister, social ministry, social department. Then they play a role in the socio-economic development of the country, and then for also enhance citizens their own. Every prospect of the citizen for better in your life. So this not a minister or not a position where they appoint for somebody for can help you party for win election. This is not somebody where they appoint for help government deliver on specific and strategic economic policies and help individual them. All the way, including people that will not vote for you. For me, they're able to develop their potential economic power and for making them able to live better life. They also get a lot of responsibility for make sure they get they set out predictable microeconomic policy frameworks. So in other words, they are able to set the agenda for the next years, the years coming. Then get power for improve revenue administration of the country. So all this hala they talk about, say government they spend too much, the explosion of the wage bill and all that thing and they, now the Ministry of Finance, now they get responsibility for look and then thing and they and assess them and see how government for reduce then thing and they and make them manageable for the government for able for run. They also get responsibility for reduce and maintain the national debt, at sustainable level. What does that mean? It means that minister then I mentioned earlier, say government already get a lot of debt. Then this government don't increase the debt. The Ministry of Finance, now they're responsible for make sure say we're able for service the debt, but also maintain respect to people them where would they lend them money out from, so that if there is another emergency, we're able for balance the country in money for solve them thing and they. Then get responsibility for strengthening the level of financial accountability in the country. So in other words, not for just spend the money, they also get responsibility for make sure say how do they spend that money, then they will get results, the required results from their expenditure then they. So they also get responsibility for strengthening the capacity of their own staff. The ministry, how do they deliver, how do they regulate, and financial institution there within the country, including the central bank. So because the central bank only responsible for micro policies, macroeconomic policies. So that one they come under the Ministry of Finance. They also get oversight authority. They also get a responsibility for improve the financial efficiency and effectiveness, of the country. In terms of, for example, anything where they happen, how much money government for able for generate, how government able for negotiate for better deals, how government for able for bring in people them where they reduce the wage bill, for example, how much government for able for create impact in businesses their life, so that then business then they go able for employ more people. So I'm talking about all of these in beyond context, other things than they who I believe say the Ministry of Finance get responsibility for, because all this discussion about climate change and this continuous logging where they happen, so we see say there is some responsibility on the part of the Ministry of Finance on the basis of reports that we don't come out from the audit service, for example, regarding monies, lost from taxes of the timber industry as they don't industrialize now, and it needs them, the energy needs of the country. Waiting the government, the Ministry of Finance responsibility for help the energy ministry for develop, because all the things they talk about development and Salone, it all revolve around waiting the government able for do for provide their service there for people as well as protecting the environment. So when you look at all this responsibility and then you put Mr. Vandi in between, the question is this the right man? Now, me not personally know Mr. Vandi, and I don't go on for talk anything in terms of whether he's competent, he's not competent. But from 2018 to now, the questions around Mr. Vandi don't make Mr. Vandi a questionable candidate for the appointment as Minister of Finance. That is the only thing I would say. He's a questionable candidate because the only thing we make Usabi Mr. Vandi na allegations of dishonesty and impropriety. And me said here, as I say, I'm not Sabi and 30 years ago, where you look at civil service. I not sabi am 20 years ago, 15 or even 5 years ago. The only reason why I sabi am, now all the allegations they always surround them. And because of all these allegations, I go say, President Bio, me, I believe say there are so many competent people in Sierra Leone, including members of the party where President Bio belong, the SLPP, were competent for handling the finances of Sierra Leone. But the only reason, when me not going to tell you why the President Bio appoint him, now because President Bio himself, I assume, is the only person who knows why Mr. Vandi, a person who don't come to we during this administration as a person of questionable integrity, why he is the only fit and proper person to handle the Ministry of Finance after Jacob Judicial suffer. He is the only person who can tell. I cannot tell.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, Fangul them the phone line don't open. The phone line don't open for make una give una contributions. The phone line don't open. Even as we continue with the program, the phone line don't open. Una call, una give una contribution. If una get questions, them una need clarifications, una call, because this is not just about me asking the question, but I can always say the goal of this show now for educate, now for learn. So sometimes something go there where you self sabi, where you want for add. Or something go there where you go on for clarify, or something go there where you go say, this one I not agree with you, this one so me sabi. So the phone lines are open. Una welcome for call and give una contributions then. Now, I follow up this with a question. And this is not a law question. I just, as a citizen, we don't experience Sierra Leone or you get family or whatnot. What score would you give the outgoing finance minister, and how well did he do to deal with the bread and butter issue? Because I know so where them in the campaign, and when it came, he said, give me 6 months, I will solve the bread and butter issue. It's been 3 years, and now it's been moved from the bread and butter situation to another situation. Did he solve the bread and butter issue like he had promised? Or how well did he do? And did he do that good of a job? And the reason why I ask this question, I get a follow-up question for us. Based on a follow-up question based on a statement where the current minister in say.
Thank you. That is very interesting. I don't know whose yardstick I go use, but I go on for say, I look at the records of Mr. Jacob Judicial Safa, and I also look at waiting people and what they feel the policies where Mr. Safa don't implement for the last 3 years. Now, let's start with the record of Mr. Safa. You started by saying Mr. Safa came into office with the mantra of bread and butter. Say the last administration not able for solve the bread and butter issue. And that his government, if they win, the first thing they will do in 6 months was to solve the bread and butter issue. Because when people are going to cookery shop, he said traditional people when they buy cookery, 1,000. But at the time when they talk about cookery shop, it's in at 5,000. Me, now one person we don't sit down at television and radio with Mr. Safa, we don't talk about economic policies. You know, during this was in pre-2018, before the elections. Right. So I know how he thinks. I know Mr. Safa for being a very passionate member of his party. He is that kind of person where you're not able for shake him in terms of what he believes say good for Salone. He knows what Sierra Leoneans want. Mr. Safa came into power or into office when the needs of the people now basically waiting them for use for run them for run their families. When Mr. Safa say at the time when they come, they only need short time. But as I talk so now, Mr. Safa, he denied that particular statement, even though it's on record. So in terms of his record, it shows say he is not the kind of person that you rely on to honor a promise or a pledge, because he denied his own statement. But the second thing is, Mr. Safana, one person where, as I say, he know what is Salone people they want.
Right.
So when he come, the first thing we implement as the Minister of Finance, now for increase revenue for government.
Okay.
And I think that the biggest achievement of Jacob Yusuf Safar as Minister of Finance.
Increase revenue for government, biggest achievement, but that revenue for government, is it trickling down in funds availability and also in wealth creation and equality for the people? We go Candy. Make her go to the caller. Caller, waiting at your name and who say the call from.
Hello, Martin. This is Omaro, the call from Switzerland.
Okay, Mr. Omar, waiting you get for we this evening.
Yeah, I don't listen to the program. A very nice program. I always tell the man thank you with the grace the program. But now, to be honest, we elect people, certain number of people wait to look for real responsibilities, for real interest in the parliament. If the government, out of sentiment, they don't elect Dennis Vandi, what would be the role of the parliament? Because always we talk and we see people, they elect certain people away. Yeah, qualification, yes, but the manner at which them elect them sometimes can questionable. But we see again a rubber stamp parliament where anything we go then they approve. They need to go into a merit of the situation, And what would be the parliamentary role this time around, given the way Dennis Vandi the elector now? What would be the parliament go for end of for approval, or they go for looking to all these people that they explain? Because until the parliament try to be honest to we elect them that they go for serve with interest. We go for the always see this. So like the parliament, what you will do, what are their responsibility towards Dennis Vandi in appointment? Now one, because the presidency on side don't do elect for the approval of the parliament. Or it could be say Dennis Vandi not going to go through parliament approval. If you go for go to what are the responsibility now while this man answer we, because BO don't do what they do don't. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Omar. I will go to the next caller. Caller with your name and say the call from. Okay, so I will make Mr. Koma continue with the in points them and also answer the caller in question. And if we get any call we can inside, then we will stop and take a call.
Right. So I start for say Jacob Yusuf Safar, for me, now man where he made structures in place and he made use of the structures and increased revenue through taxing, through the enforcement of tax laws. And that one is a very good thing. And he gets commendation from the World Bank, for example. Say he even puts forward systems, we're able to increase revenue in terms of taxes for government. Then the other thing I'm going to say, Jacob Yusuf Safar has been a very loyal servant to the president of Sierra Leone, to President Bio, because we don't see a lot of reports, including the reports that will come out from audit service. Say Jacob Yusuf Safar, if they give money to people them when Parliament not authorized. So his loyalty is not to the people of Sierra Leone, it's to the government of Salone. His loyalty is to President Bio. He doesn't care whether Parliament approves it or the people are happy or the people then get a bread and butter. And the third thing I want to mention about Jacob Jesus-Safa is the man who, through his power, he gets to a level where he nothing say he's answerable or is responsible to anybody in Sierra Leone. This is the man who went on TV and spoke arrogantly against the people of Sierra Leone, saying, "I own a belful, now I make on the talk." Where Salone belful, they labo all kind way. So it showed a lot of disrespect to people. And I think in that way, if in amount they continue in politics, that will get for one time, for a very long time. But in terms of his responsibilities, you know, coming back to his responsibilities, Jacob Jesus-Safa, now we find himself in a situation where very uncomfortable. I think that is the biggest job he has ever had in his life. And the discomfort comes at a point where perhaps things were too big for him. He couldn't manage his potentials to do what he ought to have done, or probably because of lack of experience, he not be sabi for do what he for do. Earlier, I highlight looking at the responsibility of a Ministry of Finance. And if you look at the Ministry of Finance, let's say, for example, the bread and butter issue. How do you address bread and butter issue? Jacob Jesus-Safa went on television. He said, bread and butter issue, you don't address them. How? He said, because when they cut school fees, when the person they pay, now bread and butter, that money they don't go now, people pockets. Okay. Hell no, that is not bread and butter. Hell no. First of all, the bread and butter, that the issue of free education, it coming as a government program where not get nothing for do with policy where they enhance people them through the creation of policies by the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance, not to then create the opportunity for make people and get, for example, fees waiver. He cannot claim it. The same way he cannot claim where the Ministry of Fisheries, the Ministry of Youth Affairs, continue the youth program by building vessels, boats for fishermen. Jacob Jesus-Safa cannot claim that one either. Jacob Jesus-Safa not also able to claim the projects were established car wash under the Ministry of Youth Affairs. He cannot. What Joseph Jesus-Safa ought to have done, now for sure the people of Sierra Leone, the policies were not put in place as minister, both in terms of improving the macroeconomics, probably that the word and they were too big for the people that were they work presently at the Ministry of Finance. How you go develop fiscal and economic policy where successive governments or successive ministers them go build up for expand Salone economy. That is what he should be telling us. And that is these are the things you should point to. What in are you role where you don't play in the allocation of government revenue? Because people in the cry say the revenue too much when they go out. And the money all the government they collect, guess what? It all goes to salary. So in other words, now like when we go work today, you get money, you can't now us, you left that money there for chop money for tomorrow. You go back, you go work, you left where you come, you left the chop money for tomorrow. Nothing all day for buy school clothes for your wife and for yourself. Nothing all day for buy clothes for picking them, for buy shoes. That is the kind of economy Jacob Jesus-Safa left. Okay. Because he not put in place anything for expand Salone economy. Nothing whatsoever. In trumpet all now revenue mobilization. And revenue mobilization is not really stricto sensu the Ministry of Finance responsibility. Now the director of NRA, now your responsibility Now in that day. Now in the raise taxes. Now in the administer taxes. Now Salone. Not to the Minister of Finance. Even though they have a relationship. But that is not it.
Okay. Okay, I go hold you there. I go to the caller them, and then I hope say they write the questions then down for the caller. The last caller in the ones for no, but parliamentary approval. But before you answer that question, I get an article where I go want for make the technical team show before we go there. But make I go to the caller. Caller, waiting at your name and who say they call from.
Mina Ibrahim from US.
Okay, Ibrahim, go ahead. What do you get for we this evening?
Thank you, Ms. Maltira and Mr. Ibrahim Suri Kuruma. May God bless you now. Mr. Suri, Ibrahim, you really dedicate to. They pray for long life and body. They will get more friends. You know, the question we ask if when is Vandi not the right person for the Minister of Finance, for me, not the right person. Because the man don't get a stigma in that country today. First, when the president came 2018, be a secretary to the president. Something happened. Then they appointed him again as Minister of Agriculture. The same man where his name come up at the Commission of Inquiry. We visit that Commission of Inquiry, they all over the place. Everybody get interest over that Commission of Inquiry day. Because of what Allah say, hey, this man, his name don't come up, why is still the south? Then the president, the pressure. Nah, see, I'm not saying I remove him, I sack him. So if that man they don't go through this Commission of Inquiry, then this a white paper, now then go court of appeal. It's like the president know the outcome of the appeal. Let me reserve that position for him. And this, it don't tell we say, especially in that country, the government of the day, now they controller. We not get no independent institution in that country. Now make we judge them. Now only the blessed one day, where they get a blessing, they go out there, they will serve. But now if I don't know when they will left. How did they go allow the government of the day, they get hands all over any institution is not independent? Other person know they were competent, we land book, we in the SLVP, where they will serve that important position day, where they go get that mandate, where the man don't get stigma. This don't tell we say, then people are not ready. For we the people then, for can't fight for they just come for can't their own cabal, for can't invest back because of money. They can't be accused everything. 3 years. Me, this man for me, I know the question, but in terms of integrity, this man not supposed to be in that position there. Because a very important office, Ministry of Finance. Anyway, let's go sorry for we. And God bless him, Salone. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. We will go to the next caller. Caller, waiting on your name and say the call from. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello. Me, my name Mrs. T. I call from Omaha, Nebraska. I just want to put a little bit on this thing where they go on about Judicial and the president, the new appointment, man with no appoint. I'm not thinking on again for be surprised for what the president they do. The president is not fail. The president now wicked man. The president is doing to the opposition. The minister of whatever they're already next to them. They're not supposed to be the vice president. The other one not supposed to be the speaker of the house. But the man don't take advantage to the people of Sierra Leone. That man a wicked man. So what did they do so? Not he know what they do. Not to say no what he do. Na plan work. Not to say for surprise. Marabi no can make the country. Can thief with money. Who they suffer. We all them na so they belong them. They out they buy cement. I don't ever buy them. Na me for source. I don't ever buy. Me a young girl. I just fortunate for can work as a nurse. I can learn and become a nurse. And they try to make better for go left me country as time they go. It don't put me backwardness. That man is a wicked man. That man is a thief man. So if he puts that money, now thief man look what he went down to. So you want somebody who they all go thief them go sit down and oversee. But this time we go hold the all responsible. And justice Sabi and good I Sabi. That is not Sabi nothing but politics. The owner for just the go thief what he don't thief and commodity, they not Sabi nothing. Now one of the most nonsense and useless man, excuse me for language. Then go and thief government money, then they thief the people of Sierra Leone money, then they suffer we people in there, and then they suffer. Oh my God, this is the more I just come on Salone. What I see my Salone? Me at 12. The people they go see young girl and sister, then they beg in the street. Then they beg. Say I want to feed me picking and not get food. They about a girl and send no they about the first story they go there. You church the market and they make that way they pay you, but now then they beg you for buy food to them. Don't it can get so what's it matter they do? Now for can't spend this money when a criminal so can go thief beaucoup Salone money. In fact, they don't get one feeling for the people of Sierra Leone. Madam, you don't care. Of course, in West not criminal, don't not criminal, don't not bad people, they are wicked people. Them, me not APC, but I they talk the truth. Now, I they turn me not APC now from now, because this wickedness is too much. The wickedness you need to stop. Like no more me they say as the program they go on the actual right now. Well, I always last week now I begin contribute because I always listen to now. But last week I begin contribute and I go contribute forever. Now that no more me get for safe because I'm not able to digest what they listen the way they go now. They mourn at me, my sister. They mourn at me. It's too shameful. It's too disgraceful. This is one of the most useless presidents who would ever get at the country of Sierra Leone. Okay, now stay blessed.
Okay, thank you very much. We will go to the next caller. Caller, what's in your name and who's the call from?
This is Mike. I come from Philadelphia.
Okay, Mike, what do you think of receiving them?
I just want to ask a question. How come 2 award-winning ministers they get moved right away from their position?
We're not hearing you, Mike.
I ask a question, right? Do you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
All right. I said, how come 2 award-winning ministers, when a 2 award-winning ministers, they get moved from their position? When a JJ Safa and Francis, when I be the chief minister, how come they get moved from their position when a award-winning minister? We win award. Let me say they do well, but how come they move them from their position and bring out somebody who be in a white paper who can replace that position there? Yeah. And then we really want to understand that. How they win award, first of all? How JJ Safa win an award? We not do nothing. So what kind of lens would the president they look at them people here from? That they want to know, whose lens would they look at them people here from? Because them people are always appointed, so they know they perform. And the guy where you appoint now from the white paper, now that chief man. So I don't understand how them people are expect for improve the country when it's just a bunch of chief man there. I mean, contribution on it.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. I will go to the next caller. Caller, waiting on your name and who's you call from?
Yeah, I'm in Lamin. They call from United States.
Okay, go ahead, caller. Which you get for with the 710?
Yes, my able iron lady Malti, how you do, madam?
We tell God thank you.
Yeah, I want to tell you thank you at least for this time where they sacrifice for the come on and they bring some kind landed, and brilliant brother when Ibrahim sorry at least for educate way on some very critical issues. Well, if we not the getting kind brother there and you for the come up and the resident here, I believe see a lot of way for the day in Edom. So I want to tell you, I really thank you. Let God bless you, let God guide you, and God give you more wisdom for the bring up the issues there for save this country. We can't see a rather unfortunate. You see, this with President, at least we all be so happy, you know, because this now be a very big opportunity for him. Because if you don't dinner at the State House, so we be feel say, some of we be feel say we in kind go just hit the ground running. But the way how we don't see 1 year to this 3 year, you know, rather unfortunate. You see, and the man gets even an opportunity. You understand? If we Sierra Leoneans, yeah, we love we safe. Trust me, this will be a big opportunity. Look, you get somebody with hand over power, give you. Whether man they in that country, they are very strong, and the man also gets all, you know, a well experienced and gets all these connections. Where it be say it will be so good, you understand? Waiting for the consult this man. But it be so rather unfortunate. Nobody not go even say President Bio be friendly with Anes. Nah, we all know. You understand? But at least maybe that man not in that office. That man gets connections. You get certain things there where you they engage with that man. I believe say for the love of we country. Trust me, that man waiting and feel say yes, it will advise you for see that country they go before. It go do am. Because the man also exhibits that one day, unless we get all the opportunities then for consider abroad. You understand? But the man choose no. Because himself no waiting if he don't do that country. And he like in country. You see, that convince her all kind of way for making stay. Some of we may even when this team, when this handing over the happen begin see, you know, after the election, problems there and there. You know, we all be the fear. You see, say that man they travel. May I be even think and say, where this man come Germany or so, and not they return against Salone. Where the man go? Because the man, you understand, love in country. So why? You see, look, all this thing, unemployment, you look the education, you know, don't look the school system. Don't look the school system. This is the other thing and this back, some of who for they do for Salone, for the educate some of people. You go, you see some school system, you see the toilets them. You see the classrooms them, really deplorable. People go kind of radio, they talk this. Some people also go there and they challenge again. You understand? So we all get to say we belong. But at least now we learn as Sierra Leoneans and for put we country before. Now that made them place here, Canada, America, Europe, you know the country I go before. They all they belong. Who na a Democrat go then a Democrat. Who that go be Republican then a Republican. But trust me, waiting at the interest of the country. We all see what's happen between Biden and Trump in America. Yeah. Look how Biden they move. You see, look how they move. If not be passing way to president, if not be then kind of attitude and they inculcate. I swear to God that country they. You understand? If I don't they move, if I don't they go before.
Okay, thank you very much, Kola. Then they go be my last call for tonight. As we are trying to round up some of this discussion. And you know, there's so many things to talk about Sierra Leone. I tell all the Kola and thank you. When I open the phone line, please don't wait until the tail end to start calling. Just start calling the moment I open the phone line. That way we will get a lot of calls in. So I know I am very principled on time. So when I look at the clock and it only hit certain time, I close the phone line and try to wrap up the program. But I will go to the technical team, make them put up, the publication from the Sierra Leone Telegraph, and we tell the Sierra Leone Telegraph for they allow we for use this publication. I go just read certain parts of this publication, even as I give, Mr. Soy time for address some issues then and talk through some things. And so the Sierra Leone Telegraph says, Dennis Vandi takes over Finance Ministry as Jacob Jusuf Safa dissolves office of Chief Minister. And I the Sierra Leone Telegraph say. But then it go on for saying this publication will be May 14, 2020. So it go on for say Sierra Leone's outgoing finance minister, who is now the government's chief minister, Mr. Jacob Jusuf Safa, on Wednesday handed over his ministerial portfolio to his successor, Francis Dennis Vandi, as the controversy over Vandi's appointment continues. Francis Dennis Vandi was expected to face MPs in Parliament for approval before taking up his ministerial role. But according to State House sources speaking to the Sierra Leone Telegraph, there is no need for Vandi's appointment to be approved by MPs because he was never sacked. And to remember, at the beginning of the program, I tried to establish the meaning of the word relieved. And I look at I make, the lawyer where they also look at them from a regular interpretation, from a legal interpretation, and from a working interpretation. So now, now they say, allegedly, and this is a quotation, right? And when a newspaper puts a quotation in it for, say, the word they come out verbatim from the other side, it goes, there is no need for Vandi's appointment to be approved by MPs because he was never sacked from his previous role as Minister of Agriculture when he was accused of corruption. He was merely suspended. And tune I've been see why make I've been also get for say we need for know the meaning and use of the word suspension. So because they also then they say not sacked, suspended. And now that make I've been one for make we establish the meaning of the word relieved and the meaning of the word suspended. They said he was merely suspended by the president until after due process has been completed. Vandi has been judged not guilty by the appeals court and must now resume his ministerial job. Speaking at the handing over ceremony, J.J. Safa said he finds it difficult to say goodbye, but also proud of the progress made in the last 3 years that resulted in the Ministry of Finance winning the Best Performing Ministry of the Year's award. Okay, so I go left Safa said that despite leaving the Ministry of Finance, he will continue to provide support in his new capacity as Chief Minister, especially with regards achieving international benchmark and engagement with other ministry, departments, and agencies on budgetary support issues. Addressing David Francis, J.J. Safa said, Mr. Minister, I can assure you that you have a strong team, and this is the strongest team in the public sector. I inherited a system where there was no organogram laid down on organogram, and where half of the technical staff were contract staff. I have been able to do some structural change to regularize that. Responding that, Dennis Vandi said J.J. Safa is the new chief minister, but he hasn't gone 100%. He is still with me. There is a lot of issues in which we will have to hang heads together to pursue. He said he is pleased with the programs his predecessor has been supervising over the years, and that as one of the authors of the New Direction Manifesto, J.J. Safa has touched on all programs and policies that the manifesto promised. Dennis Vandi promised to continue with the programs outlined in the Finance Ministry's strategic plan, the SLPP's Party New Direction Manifesto, and the Midterm National Development Plan until such time that the President gives directive on further direction as to how he wants the government to be financed. So I need for listen to that particular statement there. So basically what the new incoming finance minister is saying, whatever has been established, whatever is in place, he's just going to continue with that. He's not going to do an evaluation to see if it works. If it doesn't work, he's not going to do a lessons learned type thing, strategic reflection to tweak things or whatever. He's just going to go with whatever has been established, okay? It goes on to say that comparing JJ Safar to the outgoing Chief Minister, Professor Francis, Dennis Vandi said, I think my predecessor Safar will be a better Chief Minister because he is knowledge of, okay, there is a typo or error there, and sometimes it's difficult. He has knowledge of the operation. I think the writer wanted to say because he believed he has knowledge of the operations of other ministries, departments, and agency. He can outstand their constraints. He can understand their constraints and have a clear knowledge about their strategic plans and how they intend to implement those plans. So basically what he's trying to say is that David Francis was incompetent and that he believes that Jacob Judicial Safar is the right person for the job. So some internal shading going on there. The statement by Dennis Vandi suggests the deep division at the top of the Bureau's led government and the shifting of internal political alliances and loyalty. And in other related developments, there are reports Safar has decided to dissolve his office as Chief Minister even before sitting in his predecessor's chair. Safar, whom many within the ruling party suspected to have been appointed to the role of Chief Minister by President Bio because of his finance ministry background, with the aim of ensuring that every ministry, department, and agency is driven by strong financial management performance, now appears to have chopped the leg of the chair he is to sit on by announcing the dissolution of the office of the Chief Minister. Former Chief Minister, Professor David Francis, sitting left. If these reports are correct, the decision by Safar to get rid of the office of the Chief Minister would be welcome after President Bio was heavily criticized for creating the office in the first place, which many regarded as superfluous to requirements and unnecessary drain on staff finances, on state finances, and a duplication of the role of the Vice President. According to the report, Safar made this ironical announcement at a meeting in his office with members of the ruling SLPP young professionals who had called on him to congratulate him on his appointment as Chief Minister. The staff told his audience, Safar told his audience that the decision to dissolve the office of the Chief Minister was out of the desire to address core functional management dynamics, especially those relating to the presidency. And I quote here, "We cannot have an office of the Chief Minister within the office of the presidency. We all belong to the office of the presidency, of the president. Thus, no more office of the Chief Minister," Safar said. Safar is understood to have also said that his job title is now head of the office of the president. The Chief Minister's office is a unit within the presidency and should remain so. No more office within an office, Safar told his visitors. So, a lot of questions have been asked. I believe the writings, the pens of the Telegraph has answered a lot of the questions. But what is even more fundamental is the fact that the incoming minister says that he's going to carry on with whatever the portfolio says. Is not going to make any changes, basically not rocking the boat, going on with whatever has been established. So, Mr. Koma, the fundamental question here is that the justification is that The minister should not appear before Parliament for parliamentary approval because he has already done so once and he was never sacked, that he was only suspended. What do you make of such rebuttal?
First of all, I would say that that interpretation is misleading. Okay, I know how to talk English, and they go back to Creole. That interpretation, they very misleading, because the notice where you read earlier in 2020 October, it's clear that he was relieved of his duty. Sacrosanct, no doubt, he was sacked. So whatever they say, it no matter. But there is one thing I get for emphasize. Now that this government, now Salone, the president's government, they have a history of not following procedure. They don't like the law, but they want to use the law. That's how they are. And we don't see them from day one. They came in, they don't want to follow the law. They put in a speaker. They took out members of parliament. They have forced legislations to pass without the procedure in parliament. They have done a lot of things. They appoint people, they don't want to face parliament. So all of these things are happening. So for me, I'm not surprised. And if it doesn't go there, would only put pressure on the opposition parties to raise this. Like we, in our one party, we don't raise a lot of questions regarding this, and I don't challenge leaders of the opposition parties in parliament already on that. I will continue to put pressure, and I think they will take action very soon. Now, the second thing I want to address, I want to answer questions that don't come to me directly, and thank you very much for those who have asked the questions. Now, somebody asked me just now, say, what is the role of parliament if somebody like a Mr. Vandi not go parliament? Parliament gets a role for oversee what in government did. So for example, Mr. Vandi not go parliament, he was not approved. In my view, he is not a minister. If he takes and benefits anything out of that, he is liable to be tried and convicted for anything, including salaries or other emolument that he takes, because it is clear that he was sacked, and even though the government president get right for reappoint him, he can go to parliament and parliament would approve or not approve. But I think in this case, they don't want to get that embarrassment. They'll just rather leave him there. Already the man don't go take office without parliamentary approval. So that's another question. But parliament gets authority and get a role for invite the man, even if he's there and he refuses to go, they can call him, they can sanction him, and I think the president would act if they do that. If they not do that, they can make a resolution against them, not for act, not for take public money, and not for exercise the authority of the Minister of Finance. Then somebody also raised an issue of how those ministers, the chief minister then, and the former minister of finance, who is now the chief minister. There are two things. I start by saying Jacob Jusuf now President Bio, now he care about. He doesn't care about what Sierra Leoneans want to do or what they do not want to do. And he has served as a very faithful member. I think I don't highlight a few instances why I say faithful. Based on all the things that we don't come out from the hiding, we don't kind of public. Me conclude say Jacob Jusuf, he is very faithful to President Bio to a point where it risk in your life, risk in your family, he risk in your reputation, and he even risk in your future, political future. Because all of these allegations coming in about disproportionate allocation of money and clandestine allocation of public funds to people that will not get right for doing, and creation of accounts, clandestine accounts where parliament no know, that is risky. You don't go to such length, to the extent of just serving one man. But Joseph Jusuf one man way in loyalty is beyond bounds. As far as it comes to President Bio, he can do anything. So I'm sure That is why President Bio even say, okay, this man can near me now. Now me and they strategize. So now we can strategize, because don't forget, the chief minister does not work for any ministry. He personally serves the president. And I think the assessment where President Biodongi, Jacob Jesus Safa, is such that this is the man who can go to lengths to serve me. So this is the kind of man I want to be a chief minister. And a very, very intelligent, for me, Joseph Yusuf Safa dissolve the office of chief minister. That is a very intelligent decision, because you cannot, as he said, you cannot have an office within an office. The chief minister is within the office of the president. So therefore, he acts there as the head of the president's office, which is correct position. You know, formerly we used to forget what they call chief of staff. So it's, in my own view, it is just a change of nomenclature, change of name. But the chief of staff is as the chief minister, basically. The chief of staff supervises and sometimes acts for the president, you know, and pushes government policies towards the other ministries as he see them fit and appropriate. And that is what the chief minister should be doing. And I think it's in the correct position. So it go back for cement the earlier view that the appointment of Jacob Jesus Safa is strategic and deliberate. You know, and the president knows that Jacob Jesus Safa can take any risk for him. So he wants him to be in the office of the president to push his agenda and make sure his agenda, you know, goes through. Then I think that is why they changed the office of chief minister to just the chief minister within the office of the president. So going back to Musa Ali has stopped with respect to the delivery of Joseph Jesus Safa of Minister of Finance. Jacob Jesus Safa has shown during time the Ministry of Finance that he can push what president wants. He can give president what he wants. He can give president's family what they want. And I think President Bio, they look for somebody, even if you are not as Joseph Jesus Safa, he's looking for somebody who can be close to what Joseph Jesus Safa gave him. Joseph Jesus Safa gave him the kind of leverage where, in your style of leading, it demands absolute loyalty. And I think the president himself talked in several interviews. The reason why he appoints people is because they supported him. They believe in him. He has looked at them. He has looked at their capacity and efficiency, and that is why he appoints them. So I think the appointment also, as I said earlier, of Mr. Dennis Vandi, or Mr. Francis Vandi, who's Dennis Francis Vandi, is deliberate. If you look at the achievements to the president by Mr. Safa, this is what the kind of chief minister he wants. It is not the chief minister who delivers on economic or macroeconomic policies. He doesn't need that kind of chief minister. He needs a chief minister who is loyal, who can give him what he wants. Because at the end of the day, the president, your argument, now that the buck rests with him. If he fail, he fail. So if they fail now, let no say, at least what you want to do, you do. That is the point. So much as we wish them good luck, but we hope that people will remember what they are doing. You know, right? For me, that is the position. But Jacob Jesus Safa, the thing where they tout as the biggest achievement, I don't see them as biggest achievement. I'll give you examples of that. You know, in recent time, the office of the president, they tout a lot of achievement in terms of a so-called inflation reduction, where the statistics Sierra Leone put out 2 months ago. In March this year, Statistics Sierra Leone put out a figure of 8.9%. You know, say inflation at Salone, year in, year out, don't reduce from February to March. And this is very important. Yeah. From February 2021 to March 2021. It said it don't reduce by 1.29, which means In February 2021, inflation was at 2.87%. All right? This is their biggest achievement. That is what they are saying. The government, they say they don't reduce inflation. But there is one thing where they always control inflation in our country. There are certain commodities, certain things that in our country where they control almost everything. 1, now housing. 2, now water. 3, now electricity. 4, now gas and other fuels. The same statistics are alone, but they are not talking about this one. And this is the hypocrisy. The same statistics are alone in the same report. They say inflation of those things, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, it increased during the same period by 3.10%. But they are not talking about that. So in Salone, warehouse rents go up. Everything they go up. Where fuel go up, everything they go up. Where transports go up, everything they go up. Where electricity bill go up, everything they go up. So I don't see where these guys are taking their figures from. And I don't know, really, I'm not questioning the capacity or the expertise of the people who are doing it. But to make you do an assessment in terms of pricing and inflation, it has to be holistic. You don't take a 2 weeks period, a 3 weeks period, and make them a yearly report and tout them as a yearly report, which is very deceptive. And this is what the chief minister, the president's office and the Ministry of Information have been doing, because they capitalize on the fact that our people don't read documents. They don't read public documents. So the office of the president, the spokesperson of the president, goes on television, sits there, and tell the people of Sierra Leone that inflation don't reduce from Musa Eva Ibine to 8.95, which is deceptive. That is incorrect. The report where statistics alone particularly mentioned, now just a period of 1 month. That is a monthly assessment, February to March. They are not telling the people that. I don't listen to president spokesman when I Keke Thomas Andy on several platforms, on television, on radio. He sits there confidently and telling the people that if they don't reduce inflation, to that point. But let's say this. What's the difference when you talk, say, you don't reduce inflation, where prices, where they control what they talk about, continue for either go up or they are stagnant. Right. And in the case of the thing that were really the border Sierra Leoneans, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, the same report say they have gone up by 3.10%. Why are you not talking about those ones? The answer is simple. They don't want people to know that. And Sierra Leoneans, majority of even the people that wanna educate the people, they don't read public documents. They listen more to radio and they listen more to what people say. And this government, they know that. They have established a special unit in the Ministry of Information. What in that unit they do? They go out and spread government propaganda. That is what they do. And this propaganda continue for spread. They have agents where they spread the same propaganda. They have channels of doing that. So imagine the spokesperson of the president goes on television, sits there, and continues to tell people that inflation now 8.95. This was for March. We are in May, going to June. He's not telling people what has happened between March to May. But he's relying on the reports between February to March, just 1 month. Right. And telling the people this is the situation in the country. This is deceptive. Now this, even though some of we can say, okay, let's support the government in what they're doing. Let's support people in what they do. But you cannot support a system that continues to deceive its people. This is wrong. You know, we always say no support government. Moving forward, government has to progress, because if government succeed, we all succeed. The country succeeds and the people get better.
Thank you very much. Where you don't take your time for break, all thing done for we Dande, very, very important. They can ask you one question. I know I make it just take few minutes for answer this question as we wrap up, because time don't actually meet we now. Many would say President Bio was able to do what he did because a precedent was set. Even though the precedent were being set not within the same context, but because that precedent was allowed to be set, therefore now, him as a president, he can do whatever is in his power to do. Because the precedent that was set, when you go back to the Constitution did not allow for such precedents to be set. Many believe say the emergence of all this starts from the day where the former president, Anesbai Koroma, take a unilateral decision for remove a vice president when are under the same ticket, the people them of Sierra Leone elect them. They elect them as two. They don't elect them as one. They elect them as a ticket. But in decide for rump that ticket they and do it in a one for do. So a lot of people will say the unraveling of certain things begin at that particular decision day. And people like you who are legal luminaries, legal minds, sat back and allowed it to happen, with the court coming down to say what he did was legal, even though we all know what he did wasn't. So what can you get to say about that?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I'll start by saying humbly that my opinion not go settle this discussion. It will never settle.
No, it won't, but just like I said, just take a few minutes.
Yes. So this is a discussion we're going to always be divided, you know, on the basis of what people understand and the leaning. My own view now that we all as Sierra Leoneans, we have to be dealt with accordingly as individuals, and all circumstances therefore be dealt with as such. There is no way you go use a particular scenario as an excuse for justify any other illegitimacy, illegality, or ill action. So first of all, taking it back to your question, that particular proposition, say because there is a precedent, there has never been any right to violate a law. No sign at the wall, not in the United States, not in England where you live, not in Sierra Leone, nowhere. So that particular argument there is flawed. It has no moral standing. It has no legal basis. It has no credibility for me to even discuss it. However, I go say, if one thing wrong at a particular time, and you don't say, we all know, say it wrong. I do not agree. But if we all agree, say, that particular action was wrong, why should we then say, oh, this justifies what happened? It makes we all hypocrites. If we agree, say, the particular action where you say we all agree, say it wrong, if we begin qualify the present bad thing the way it happened, say because something that happened, now make the do it make we all hypocrites. So what we have to do is to say the particular thing when we agree say wrong, it's wrong. But this particular one is wrong as well. That is what makes us better. That is what we should be doing as citizens. Me not think say anybody gets rights or moral standing for point finger by company. Say, oh, you said we don't do anti-gadi. So therefore, no can tell me say I'm not for doing. Do you know what does that mean? What does that mean? Now that this country with the poiler, now the summary dandy. Because you don't poil, allow me, let me say poil. Now that's the person they tell you indirectly. Say no, whether they don't do it, they will not been talk. Even if we not been talk, should we therefore be silent over things that are really destroying our country? Don't say 6 years ago, bad thing happened. Will not be talk. So if it continue to happen at a scale, we don't threaten our own very existence as a people. Should we keep quiet? Me not think so we should. And I think say as soon as we realize, say what thing they happen, so again the capacity or the propensity for destroy we individually, but also as we country, it destroy our country. Now the right time. There is no time to call things out. There is every time now a time for call things out. The time you realize, say this thing they happen, is wrong. That is the right time to call it out. And anybody when they defend bad thing, he's unpatriotic, and I don't think say a discussion like this for be whether somebody did something wrong before or you something wrong before. Me one thing where I they talk about. I posted in one group this morning. Say President Bio, the report the way don't come on, allegations of corruption. Therefore, people for rise up and call for an independent foreign investigation. We're gonna make we all satisfy, say we president, his hands are clean. The president and the family, his hands are clean. And I'm raising that campaign in Sierra Leone. And then people then begin asking me, say, including ambassadors of government. They say, so now you get voice? Yes, now I get voice. Because if we all keep quiet, these things will continue to happen. You continue to benefit, but the majority of the people will continue to suffer. We should call out bad things when they happen. You know me say because somebody not call them out the last time, so therefore, you know for call them out now. It is the same argument for the allegations against the against the First Lady. You know, the Anti-Corruption Commission get the temerity for pull a statement say, oh, not to the first lady this, we're corrupt. Or not to the first lady this, not to the first lady we don't get government money. So therefore, we're not for still investigate the first lady because other first lady they don't get government money. That is not the argument. The argument is we have evidence admitted by this present first lady. Say he don't receive illegally disbursements of public funds. Investigate now and then. If you get other things for investigate by other person, you still have the right to investigate the other person. But I can't tell me say, oh, not only the first person. They try for legitimize corruption. They try for defend corruption. And that is what some of us will not agree to. We will not be quiet, we would not be silent, and we will continue to raise issues like this and call out people where they back Salone, partners, patrons, development agents, or whoever is supporting government. For put the hypocrisy away and ask the government for make them investigate the corruption on high places allegation. So at this moment, we would not say they are corrupt. But the same way when they investigate other people, nobody should hide behind his office or his position to say, oh, because other people that were not corrupt before. That is the reason why we had a commission of inquiry, for investigate them. So even if I'm not being called them out, President Bio don't call them out. President Bio, he don't investigate the other people, including the past president. So what is wrong for make citizens say, oh, President Bio, this allegation against you, see also, you are UF. Don't investigate them. What is wrong?
Yes, indeed. 3 words for the incoming finance minister. 3 words. If you were to say 3 words for the incoming finance minister.
It goes, I don't know for do 3 words, but I go say make 3 statements. 1, make sure they approve you. 2, focus on your job rather than the politics. And 3, make sure you look at your responsibilities and concentrate on your responsibilities.
Lessons learned. 3 words for President Bio.
I always say the president forgets inflection moments. He should use his time to think more about what is happening around him. That is to say, around the country, not just the cabinet. Because most of the time, politicians only talk sweet things and how they win elections. President Bio has said in public, the only thing we're interested in is for win the next election. That is very disingenuous. That is not why people elected him. President Bio said, if they not vote for Anele, he talk an Akailao. He said, if not be vote for me, Anele Kaya. So he's only interested in people who vote for him. That is also wrong. The president should work for the people. He is not elected to win elections. He's elected to deliver on policy. If you're not able to deliver on the people, he has no business serving as president. That is my conclusion. If you're not able to deliver what people they want, he not get any business for serve as president. So let him reflect, look at what he has done, listen to what the people are saying, and work towards that. I wish him good luck.
Okay. So with people them now the word that I hope say we don't take the time now also for break things down to now we don't look at the law, we don't look at the professional ethics behind certain things them. We don't also look at the regular side of things. Just because, and I keep saying this, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. When the president is making decision, yes, you want to be strategic in your decision, but in so much as your decision appears to seem dishonest, appears to give the illusion of, divisiveness or not listening to the voice of the people, not listening to the voice of your opposition, not being collaborative, but your sole aim is to maintain power and, hold on to the grips of power, then people question and people start, looking at really waiting now you focus. Now the people then are you focus or now the seats of power, maintaining the seats of power, now you focus. The responsibility of the finance ministry is not to create revenue. That is not their responsibility. The responsibility of the finance ministry is to make sure that whatever revenue we have is properly distributed and fairly used, right? The responsibility of now that make we get different institutions than the responsibility of the revenue collection agency. That is their job. That's what they are there for. So make we not a conflict with responsibilities then. Yeah. So in as much as the 2 departments then they talk, the 2 departments then they liaise, the 2 departments then they coordinate, but make we try for keep and understand the roles and responsibilities given to each department, each ministries, each agencies, and make them try for carry on. Do I think that eliminating the office of the chief minister is a good thing? Absolutely. I asked a question on my timeline a couple of days ago, and you see, to read English is one thing, to understand English within the context in which it is spoken is another thing. A lot of people then confuse me question, as in I am questioning why the office of the chief minister has been removed. But however, I wanted people to think about the grander implication of having that office and now having it removed. I think it's a fabulous thing that Jacob Jusuf has decided to remove that title, because you cannot have another try, and several people in try for say, well, it is within the office of the president, so therefore, and I said, listen, when the office was first created, it was created for a reason. Even though there was a lot of backlash and saying that this office should not be created, the president thought in his whatever, for whatever reason, that the office was needed. I am happy to say that someone is now there that has reflected in what the office should do, the role of the office, and have decided to eliminate that title, office of the chief minister, but however indicated that, you know what, this is a functionality, this is a functioning status within the office of the presidency. That is how it should be. And so for that, we go say Jacob Joseph has done well if indeed he's decided to eliminate that office and make it part and parcel of the office of the presidency. However, I cannot sit here and say that his mobilization of revenue for the government has been a good one, because when the poor people suffer, when the masses who are supposed to benefit from the mobilization of such revenues are left worse than, then I cannot give applause. If we see a change in the lives of the ordinary people, if, for example, the pepper, not go from, I think there's been like a 400-500, if not 600% increase to pepper. If the poor man not able to buy pepper for cook that small soup or make that small grown soup or whatever it is for him and picking them for it, how do you expect me to sit here and say that, his fiscal policies worked? That is, the bread and butter issue has been fixed. I know how much goes out of my pocket to help people that I always say are not related to me. I have no blood ties with them. Maybe till the day I leave this earth, I will never meet them one-on-one. But it is important that we take care of our own. It is important that, it's not just a collective few that benefits, but that the cake or that the water trickles down to the least Sierra Leonean, the least of us. We don't get this discussion. I hope say on a land bokutine. I hope say the president himself go sit down, watch the show, pick some 2-3 in them, and ministers. Listen, I am not naive. I am not going to sit here and say that I do not know that sometimes the president, the first lady, and some of the ministers in agency, departments and whatnot, sit and watch the show. I am very much aware of that. And sometimes I ask the question I ask because I know that when you go back and watch the show, maybe it will trigger a thinking process, a reflection process in you. Like I say, I'm not the enemy of the state. I'm just for the nation, Sierra Leone. I want that nation to grow and I want everybody to benefit. I want each and every child, each and every sons and daughter of the soil to be proud to say, I am a Sierra Leonean, not just because of the flag, green, white, and blue, but because of what the country can afford them and what they can also afford to the country. Not a one person or not a one-man gang business, not all-man business. We all need for benefit from the soil. And even as I speak, that blasting where they don't begin at the peninsula, please. There's a reason why past governments decide not for give authorization for do blasting and for extract. Like we know that particular side in a Diamond Ferrious area, like where some one of the popular internet or social media commentator also said today by the name of Casada Kitchen. Like I say, you don't always have to agree with her process, but when she says something, sometimes you might want to take a second look at it. Diamond Ferrious area, a reason why make past governments do not allow extraction or exploration. So please, there are reasons why we have to keep our mountains, not to ultimate need for be explored. Because at one morning, we don't want to wake up one morning and we hear another 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 deaths. Just because of the greed of mankind, just because of the stubbornness of human nature. So please, make me learn for take care of waiting God don't give me. Make me olam and make me do good with them. Now I switch to 155, the best school ever in Sierra Leone. Listen, una go 8. The haters, them are not saying any economy inbox, then go economy timeline, then go can't stay waiting and one for say, but we don't care. We are Esto Fidelis to the call. Okay, no matter what you say, this is who we are. We are blue-blooded. We are pink in stripe. Yes, 155. St. Joseph's Convent Secondary School. Now we born, now we. In fact, make I tell the technical team, make them play one small video for us. Now we, nobody, not talent, we. Listen, when you see me speak, what did you think? I was transitioning from late Mrs. Dilsworth to Okra for Smart. I only did 3 years in convents, like I always tell people, from 3 to from 5. Those was the only time I did at convents. And my time in Sierra Leone was in between, always. Never been in Sierra Leone. I don't think so. I don't ever stay in Sierra Leone past 5 years. I don't think so in my entire life, cumulatively and whatnot. But listen, from where small I grew up, in and out and whatnot, but convents, my memories of convents will always be there. And I am an Esto girl to the core, whether you like it or not. I don't will ever deny me Estoness, okay? Make I go to the technical to make them play something quick for we, a video of, with Esto, as we celebrate with 150 the Sunday. When you see us, you know us. Technical team, do your big play that video for we, because I have to celebrate my alma mater. A lot of people have been in doubt, Now, anywhere she go, now girls school he go, whose school he go? Well, I tell you not today now. I think I have said it in the past in my timeline, but I've never said it on that program, I don't think. But if I have said it and you missed it, Convento, Esto, Fidelis. Be thou faithful, always. Always. Technical team, can you play us? So all the haters, return 155, the best school in Sierra Leone, the convent, St. Joseph's Convent Secondary School, na Brookfields, na there we go. Na in we sabi, na in make we Esto Fidelis, be thou faithful. So Sunday, 23rd of May, be there at the virtual celebration, the virtual Thanksgiving service. Come, be prepared, bring your Estoness, bring your fierceness, and let's celebrate the 155th anniversary of the existence of that great school. That school, they don't produce a lot of beautiful, amazing people then, including several first ladies then, ministers, you name it. I mean, including myself here. So if you ever doubt it, come check. Anyway, so I want to say congratulations to 155 years of existence, to my alma mater, St. Joseph's Convent. I've been doing at the debate team, the quiz team, you name the competition, I was there. Volleyball, won prizes even from the late Patricia Kaba. When I have been a former student won prizes from her, for the school. I was part of the volleyball team, 100 meters, long jump, high jump, 400 meters relay. Now we've been smashed and recorded them back in the days. I had the accolades, okay? I was a gatherer of accolades of some things and other things not, but I was very, very well known within convents. I played at the band for a sting, but much so was a lot more in the choir, then at the award scheme, you name it. When they say Josephine Cole, that they talk about. But anyways, it's all good. Those were the days. We've handed over the baton to other people, who we hope are more brilliant than us. So we know that, we'll do more for the school. We'll do more to bring the name of the school. But, if even for the school for go, we need to have safety. We need to have quality teachers. We need to have good subjects being taught at school. I sit here and I sound very, very eloquent. Yes, my eloquency did not come solely from attending that school, but they are part of my grooming, right? They are part of my journey. I speak 3 international languages. Obviously, I did not get them all from convent. I got them from somewhere else. But I'm just happy that I am a product of that great school. So happy 155th convent. And I joined the online celebrations on Sunday. And to Mr. Ibrahim Kamara, I want to say thank you very much for spending the past 2 weeks with us. You've educated the nation. You've highlighted a lot of issues. And I hope whenever we call upon you, you will be able to avail yourself. Right now, we'll give you some break as we turn your attention to other issues. Then thank you very much for coming and hanging with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So to we family, I not forget say Corona they kill in not done it. Myself na yaso I go post picture where they go take my first vaccine hopefully in the next coming week. We need for take the vaccine. If you have the possibility of taking the vaccine, please do go take the vaccine. It saves life. It helps now for make we all build a better community, a safer community, and a safer environment. Okay, I know say there are a lot of pessimism going on with the vaccine, but listen, what other alternatives do we have? For right now, this is the alternative we have. Let's make the best use of it. Okay, some people wish they can have it right now, but they don't have access to it. So also been afforded access to it, please let's go out and take our vaccine. Una observe all of the law distancing protocol. Them una wash una and una continue for cover una nose them and whatnot. May God bless you all. Anything we will defend at this world. May God self continue for putting an inside until we meet again. Famble them una tata.